Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about the King Air 200 oil system. Alright, a little bit about the King Air 200. It has two Pratt & Whitney PT6A 41 engines, and what those are is they're just really reliable turboprop engines. Most turboprops, or a lot of turboprops, use them. Very reliable, great engines. And a little bit about it, it's air and oil cooled. It just helps to keep it even cooler. I'm having two drinks, air and oil. So air flowing over the engine is that cool air flowing over the engine is going to help cool off that really hot engine, and also oil flowing over that engine is going to help cool it off as well. It's going to be a dry sump oil system, and we'll talk a little bit more about what a dry sump is in a second. Our oil system, what it does, it cools and also lubricates those moving parts. If we didn't have that oil lubricating the moving parts, it'd probably get locked up. Wouldn't be able to move. Would not be good. Nope. So we have that oil to keep it lubricated, moving good. Little overview. Like I said, it is a dry sump, and what that means is the oil sump is located separately from the engine, rather than a wet sump with the oil pan being located directly under that engine. And what that does is it's going to make it more aerodynamically efficient, because the dry sump is going to take on the shape of the engine, and it's going to be located, the sump's going to be located on top towards the rear of the engine. Rather than a wet sump, the wet sump is located under the engine. It's making the engine bigger, creating more drag into the relative wind. So the dry sump's more aerodynamically efficient, taking up less space. Dry sumps can actually hold more oil than wet sumps, which is great for us. More oil's always good. And oil is always going to be pumping through the system with a dry sump at any flight altitude. So if you're like flying upside down or something, you're always going to be getting oil to your engine. Alright, some components of the oil system. So our oil tank has a capacity of 2.3 gallons, and the whole system has a capacity of 3.5 gallons. That's something I found out when I was researching, and I was like, what? I wasn't really sure about it, but yeah, the oil tank, 2.3 gallons, and then all that oil flowing through the system, the engine and everything, has a capacity of 3.5 gallons, because it's a larger area for that oil to flow through the whole system rather than just the tank. Alright, we have one pressure pump, and what that does is it's going to provide, it's going to send oil to all the bearings and gears. It's going to send that oil, provide lubrication to our system. And then we have 4 scavenger pumps, and what the scavenger pumps do is they actually return the oil to our sump. So they pull it back into the sump, and then the pressure pumps send it out. Why does it say anyway, some more components. We have an oil cooler, and that oil cooler, it uses air to cool off our oil. So it just air flows around these oil pipes that like wrap around in a small space, and air flows over the pipes and cools off that oil. But air flowing to the cooler, if the oil doesn't need to be cooled, there's actually a bypass, and it can just bypass the cooler. And there's a thermal sensor that can tell whether or not it's cool or not. And then we have an oil filter that cleans oil. Let's say there's like some metal shavings or something. Sometimes they can actually block the entrance to the oil cooler, so no oil can get in there. And if that happens, there's actually a bypass valve. But what the oil filter does, it cleans our oil and prevents any contaminants from getting in the system. So let's say there was like some metal shavings or something. If it just if it bypassed that valve, that those metal shavings could potentially get into our system, and that's not good. And if something that's really cool about the King Air, if there is some chip detection, like if there's any metal shavings like we were just talking about in there, this chip detection will alert you about that. And I mean, if you're in the air, I'm not really sure what you're gonna do, but you probably should get down pretty quick. We don't want that metal messing up our engine, so just land as soon as you can. Here's a little diagram of our oil system. The red lines are going to be the pressure valve sending out that oil throughout our system, and then the green lines you see, they're going to be the scavenger pumps pulling that oil back into our sump. So how we control our propeller pitch is actually the pressure pump sends oil to the propeller, and when it sends that oil to the propeller, it's going to increase the pitch of the propeller, and then it can also pull oil back, I guess suck oil back from the propeller, and that'll decrease the pitch. So sending oil increases the pitch, bringing oil back decreases the pitch, and that pressure pump is what controls the pitch by sending oil there. Yeah. And if we go back to our diagram, you can see that orange, it actually shows the propeller oil supply. Alright, so monitoring our system, we have oil pressure gauges. If that oil pressure is increasing, then you know something's probably wrong. Increasing too much. And if it does get too high, we actually have a pressure relief valve. If it's too low, there's annunciators that'll tell you. We also have oil temperature gauge to help monitor that oil temperature. We don't want it getting too high. So we can monitor that. Chip detector, like I said, we have that to detect any metal in our system. Alright, so if you had something wrong, here's what the annunciators would look like. The orange ones mean there is a potential, what is it? The orange ones mean there is a hazard, but it's not going to be an immediate problem. But it's a situation you need to resolve pretty quickly. And then the red ones indicate a imminent failure, like something you need to handle right away, or bad things could happen. And there's a picture of what your oil pressure and oil temperature gauges look like. And that is my presentation. Thanks for watching. And there's all my references.